Hey, this is Mosquito, also known as Chris. Welcome to the shop. Today we are starting out with a box elder log. I first cut out the center, and then I rough it out to a round blank on the bandsaw, and then we'll pick it up and turn a bowl in a sec. So there's that slightly rounded out blank, and I've got it between centers. So there's a drive center in the headstock and the live center on the tailstock. And I'm using a 5/8 inch bowl gouge with a 40/40 grind. Makes it pretty good for a push cut here. And I just kind of keep readjusting the tool rest as I get closer and closer to the shape of the bowl. And as you can see, this was fairly wet at this point, which was good. It turned really nice. It was huge shavings. It turned real quick. These box elder logs that I have came from my father-in-law's farm. He and some of the neighbors were clearing out ditches, and they came across some of this wood and saved some of it because of the red colors in it. And although there's not a whole lot of red in what I ended up getting by the time I got to it, it's still some pretty cool wood nonetheless. So this bowl actually goes to him at the end of this. But here you can see I've sort of roughed in that tenon already, and I'm just further refining the shape until I find something in there that I'm happy with. So clearly I need to make a little bit smoother of a cut, but getting the shape in there. Coming in with the skew slash scraper to make sure that I have that tenon dovetailed and the shoulder flat. Turned it around, threw it in the chuck, and now I'm flattening the top, or what will become the top, before I start working on hollowing out the center of it. This really does have some pretty grain to it. Wasn't quite expecting that, even though it didn't have the red to it, but turning it around to kind of refine the shape one last time here, just to kind of get what I'm looking for, I guess. Just a little bit different shape, but realizing I should have shut my cabinet door back there. Whoops. Now that I'm happy with the outside shape, I am going to just make sure that this top is perfectly flat all the way across, and then I am going to start working on hollowing out the bowl. So here you can see I'm kind of hollowing out basically the top inch or so of the bowl and getting down to this final thickness of the wall, and that's because it's wet, and when it dries you don't want it to crack and warp and do weird things, so it's a lot stronger if you only turn like an inch in the top and then do the sides, etc. So there were a few cracks here and there because it was wood that was drying out for a little while in my shop, and basically a field. So patching those up with some CA glue and some activator just to kind of keep things together, I guess. But here I've switched to, this is a 3/4 inch with more traditional bowl grind to it, and this is just a lot easier to get that corner rounded at the bottom and kind of turn around it to be able to clean that up and get a nice clean cut all the way through. But you can see I'm kind of avoiding the top rim just because it's not quite as strong, and it's probably going to start moving soon. And then it was time for a whole bunch of sanding. Just running through the grits. I usually start around 120 or so, sometimes 80 if my turning sucks. And then I just kind of go up through usually around 220, 320, something like that. And now with the inside of the bowl done, I'm going to, well, basically turn my chuck into a jam chuck. I throw some drawer liner on it, flip it around, and then I hold it in place with the tailstock. And what that lets me do is essentially turn it as if I had a jam chuck. I can then remove that tenon on the bottom, and then, well, most of the way, and then either cut it off, or if I turn it all the way off, either way, I can sand it and be done. This is sometimes the scary part because that. Exactly. Every now and then that happens, so just be a little bit careful. Sometimes I'll actually cut it off instead of turning it quite that far. But I mean, that thing was still about 3/4 of an inch, so inspecting for damage and assess the situation and then move forward from there, I guess. basically all I did was flush trimmed it with a saw, and then I'm just coming back in to sand it until it was done and fix some of the damage on the inside. There's just a few spots where it was rattling around in there, but it wasn't too bad. And after that, we get some finish applied to it, and then this bowl is done. I don't have too many examples to show you because these are the only pictures I took before I gave it to my father-in-law, but this is the finished bowl, just some Mahoney's walnut oil. But anyway, I appreciate those that stuck around this far. Hopefully you either learned something or at least killed some time. So I will catch you in the next one.